During that interview last night with ABC News, Joe Biden had a couple of news-making moments, I would say. The biggest one from my perspective was his I think full-throated endorsement for a change in the filibuster, which would allow legislation to pass through. But he also was asked about a major scandal that is brewing in New York State. And sometimes you talk about New York. We live here, and you hope that you're not being too myopic. But let's face it, New York State could be a place. Ultimately, New York State politics are sort of famously corrupt, but could be a place where we are on the forefront of progressive legislation. It has not been, largely because Andrew Cuomo, for many years, was harboring a great desire to have a national political career and felt that we were living in the 1990s and wanted to prevent himself to have to veto progressive legislation. And so he had essentially midwifed a caucus of Democrats to caucus with Republicans to prevent legislation from hitting his desk that he would have to veto. And now,
well, yes, among many other corruption issues, and
he disbanded the Moreland Commission, which was looking into corruption in the state. And when they started looking into him, he disbanded it.
His top aide is in prison right now for corruption. I mean, the list goes on and on with this guy.
On and on. And the latest two scandals were, one, that he apparently had advisors who were hiding the number of nursing home deaths in this state, because he wanted his leadership book about COVID-19 to really pop. And now there are 7 women who have come forward with allegations of sexual harassment. Joe Biden was asked about them last night. This is clip number 3.
Let me ask you about Governor Cuomo of New York. I know you've said you want the investigation to continue. If the investigation confirms the claims of the women, should he resign?
Yes, I think he probably end up being prosecuted too.
But how about right now? You've said you want the investigation to continue. You saw Chuck Schumer, Senator Gillibrand, majority of the congressional delegation don't think he can be an effective governor right now. Can he serve effectively?
Well, that's a judgment for them to make about their state, where they can be effective. Here's my position. It's been my position since I wrote the Violence Against Women Act. A woman should be presumed to telling the truth and should not be scapegoated and become victimized by her coming forward, number one. But there should be an investigation to determine whether what she says is true. That's what's going on now.
And you've been very clear. If the investigation confirms the claims, he's gone.
That's what I think happens. And by the way, it may very well be there could be a criminal prosecution that is attached to it. I just don't know, but let the investigation, and I don't know what it is, but I start with the presumption. It takes a lot of courage for women to come forward. Some are not, anyway, it takes a lot of courage to come forward. So the presumption is it should be taken seriously and it should be investigated. And that's what's underway now.
He has to throw the Violence Against Women Act in there. And it's just like, he's in he just has this mode that's like compulsive. He has to include that, which by the way, he tied into his notorious crime bill, but I digress.
What I also thought was interesting was at one moment you saw him hesitate there, where he said, women need to be heard now, of course, and then they need to be investigated. And I think that hesitation, I don't know. I mean, I think obviously there were allegations against him from a woman, Tara Reid. They were, I don't know if they were actually, to the extent that they were ever criminally investigated, there was not enough evidence that was found at that time. But certainly reporters subsequent to her allegations, reporting that came out sort of much later after the controversy had died down, suggests that, that she wasn't necessarily, she had a history. Let's put it this way. This seems incontrovertible. she had a history of lying to other people that she had in her life. Now, not necessarily those type of lies. And Joe Biden did have, I don't know, 5 or 6 women who came out and said that they felt that he was getting in their space, but you didn't
Well,
have.
at the very least, that was documented. Like the getting in the space, we have video evidence of him
Absolutely.
doing that. At the very least, he did that, right? And I just want to make this point because I'm frustrated that this is the focus, though. He should be out based on the cover up of nursing home deaths where he tried to fudge his COVID effectiveness numbers by covering up nearly half of the deaths that he caused by his decision to put COVID positive nursing home patients back into nursing homes, and then it spread like wildfire there naturally. You could own that decision, but that might threaten your book deal or future book deals and your credibility as this COVID savior. That's what should be the primary focus. Not that this isn't legitimate, but there are bodies, there are dead body counts, thousands and thousands that are attributable to his decision making there.
I mean, I think to a certain extent, there's sort of like that we're going to get Al Capone on taxes type of situation where there are certain, we are now in the realm of politics that I think the salience of the way that he treated people had more resonance with the public, for better or for worse. But I agree with you. Certainly what he did with the nursing homes, incredibly egregious.